The day my family publicly laughed at the woman I loved was the same day I realized that money could buy comfort, but it could never buy character. I watched expensive smiles hide cruel hearts while the kindest soul in the room quietly picked up a broken glass from the floor as if she were invisible. In that unforgettable moment, I knew choosing my family's approval would cost me the only person who had ever made me feel truly understood. If you believe kindness is more valuable than wealth, and that everyone deserves a second chance, please like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Growing up, Everett had everything most people dreamed about except freedom. His family owned successful businesses, lived in a beautiful home, and measured every decision by one question: would it increase the family's status? His parents believed marriage was another business investment, and they constantly reminded him that he should marry someone whose family could strengthen their influence. Love, according to them, was a pleasant bonus but never the reason to build a life together. Everett had tried for years to become the son they wanted. He earned the degrees they demanded, accepted the job they arranged, attended the social gatherings they organized, and smiled through conversations that felt more like negotiations than family moments. Deep inside, though, he felt strangely empty. Every achievement was celebrated for how it looked instead of how it felt. One bright afternoon, after another exhausting meeting, Everett walked into a quiet neighborhood cafe hoping to escape the pressure for just a few minutes. That was where he first noticed Marin, a waitress whose warm smile reached people long before her words did. She remembered regular customers by name, encouraged nervous children ordering for themselves, and treated every person with the same respect regardless of how they were dressed. She was never trying to impress anyone. She simply believed kindness was the right way to live. Everett started returning to the cafe almost every afternoon. At first, he convinced himself it was because the food was good. Eventually, he admitted it was because every conversation with Marin reminded him that life could be simple, honest, and peaceful. She never cared about his expensive watch or his family name. In fact, she seemed happiest when they talked about ordinary things like favorite books, childhood memories, or dreams that had nothing to do with money. Marin had grown up helping her grandmother after her parents passed away. She worked long hours, saved every dollar she could, and quietly volunteered at a community food pantry during her free afternoons. She believed that people should never be judged by what they owned because life could change for anyone in a single moment. The more Everett learned about her, the more he admired her strength. Months later, he introduced Marin to his family during a daytime charity luncheon. He hoped they would see what he saw. Instead, they saw only her job. Their smiles became forced. Their compliments sounded empty. Relatives whispered just loudly enough for Marin to hear. Someone joked that waitresses belonged carrying trays, not wearing engagement rings from successful families. Another suggested Everett was going through a temporary rebellion that would end once he met the wealthy young woman they had already chosen for him. Marin remained calm, thanked everyone for the meal, and quietly excused herself with remarkable dignity. Everett stayed behind only long enough to hear his father describe love as an expensive mistake. For the first time in his life, Everett stood up from the table without asking permission or apologizing for disagreeing. He followed Marin outside into the warm afternoon sunlight. She wasn't crying. She simply looked disappointed. She told Everett that being poor had never embarrassed her. Watching successful people treat others as less than human was what truly hurt. Those words stayed with him. The following weeks became increasingly difficult. His parents froze his access to family investments. Friends who cared more about influence than friendship slowly disappeared. Invitations stopped arriving. Rumors spread that Everett had thrown away his future. For the first time, he understood how lonely it felt to lose approval. But for the first time, he also felt honest. He accepted a modest position at a smaller company where nobody cared about his last name. He learned what it meant to earn respect through daily effort instead of family reputation. Marin never complained about the smaller apartment they rented together. She celebrated tiny victories that Everett had once ignored, like paying every bill on time or cooking dinner together after work. One afternoon, while volunteering at the food pantry with Marin, Everett recognized an elderly man struggling to carry several heavy boxes. The man thanked them repeatedly and explained that years earlier he had owned a manufacturing company before losing everything during an economic collapse. His story reminded Everett how quickly circumstances could change. That day transformed him forever. He realized that wealth was never permanent, but compassion could last a lifetime. Inspired by Marin's example, Everett began creating a non-profit program that connected restaurants with shelters so unused meals could feed families instead of being wasted. Marin helped organize volunteers, local businesses joined the effort, and soon the program expanded across neighboring communities. Local newspapers noticed. Business leaders noticed. Even Everett's family noticed. Ironically, the same relatives who once mocked Marin started praising the charitable work after it received public recognition. Some even claimed they had supported the relationship from the beginning. Marin never held their words against them, but she also never forgot how they had treated people when nobody was watching. Months later, Everett's father unexpectedly visited one of the community events. He watched volunteers serving meals side by side. He watched business owners working beside students, retirees, and families. Most importantly, he watched Marin greeting every person with the same genuine kindness she had shown years earlier in that small cafe. There were no cameras nearby. No reporters. No wealthy donors to impress. Just people helping people. For the first time, Everett's father saw what his son had seen from the beginning. He approached quietly and admitted that he had spent most of his life measuring success by bank accounts instead of hearts. Watching his own son build something meaningful without the family's money forced him to question everything he believed. Forgiveness did not happen instantly. Trust returned slowly. But honest change began with honest humility. Over time, family dinners became less about financial achievements and more about shared experiences. Everett's mother started volunteering once a week. His younger cousins grew up hearing different conversations than Everett had heard as a child. Instead of asking how much someone earned, they were encouraged to ask how someone treated others. The greatest inheritance was no longer wealth. It became compassion. Years later, Everett and Marin walked past the same little cafe where they first met. New faces worked behind the counter, but the warm atmosphere remained unchanged. They smiled at each other, remembering that one ordinary afternoon had completely redirected their lives. Everett finally understood that happiness had never been waiting inside expensive houses or exclusive gatherings. It had been waiting inside simple moments shared with someone whose heart was richer than any fortune. Before we finish, leave a meaningful comment and tell us this. Have you ever discovered that someone's true value had nothing to do with money, status, or appearance? If this story touched your heart, please like this video, leave a meaningful comment, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another emotional journey. Remember, the richest people are not always the ones with the biggest bank accounts. They are the ones whose kindness leaves the world better than they found it, and that kind of wealth can never be taken away. If you'd like, I can also write this story as a full 2,000-word YouTube retention version with more emotional twists, deeper character development, and higher audience engagement.